Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us, as per usual, to your Chronicles webinar. I'd like to introduce first, I don't know where he is on your screen, but on my screen, he's on the left-hand side with the black shirt from PAX. Tim is the general manager of the company. I have to say that when I met Tim, I was so pleased to find somebody like him at the helm of such a large company. You don't tend to find that in our sector. He's truly a cannabis and wine connoisseur. I love this man. Down below me, I have Darryl right now from Genius Pipe. Darryl is the director of sales and marketing for the company. We're going to have the designer of the original Genius Pipe. Now, for those of you, see, everybody knows PAX. PAX is international. Everybody's buying it now. A lot of people don't know Genius Pipe yet. I'm going to make sure after today that all of you do know about this product, because I have to say that the designer of this little guy right here is changing the way that I look at pipe smoking a lot. I'm not anti-pipe. Tim knows about this as well. I'm not anti-pipe. Oh yeah, by the way, Mikey Chi, he was out of screen. I'm gonna just point it a little bit more. There we go. Mikey Chi, you know that this is my brother from another mother. We breed together, not together, but you're gonna experience some of the cultivars that we have been breeding together today for the first time. We are showing them to the world. Very exciting. Thank you for joining us as per usual, Mike.
Sure. How you doing? How's everyone doing out there? Hey, everyone, chat. What are you smoking on? Right into the chat, okay?
Please, as per usual, you know that we always start our Chronicle session letting Kelsey, thank you for putting GMO into the chat group right now. GMO and GMO descendants, we're going to show you some of them today that we've been working on, actually.
Yeah, we got some GMO lines here.
Ugh.
Well, not necessarily GMO, but like you said, a descendant of the GMO line.
Yeah. Yep. We're trying to develop things and make them our own style. Anyways, we've got a Mazari Sharif consumer out there right now. You know what's exciting about this session today? Mazar, by the way, everybody out there should know I'm crazy about it. And I believe it's one of the genetics that holds the key to developing cultivars that can go into the frost in the Canadian environment. That's my theory, because that's what it does back home in Afghanistan. Okay. Now,
one more thing, we got Tracy smoking on some Mendo. It looks like Mondo's breath, but I think maybe Mendo's breath, maybe. Is that a misspell? Could have been Mendo breath. Anyway,
or a new derivative of Mendo breath, which is something we tend to work with a lot as well.
Yeah. So we're actually one of our cultivars here is a combination of Mendo breath and GMO, and then it's been combined with something else, right? So,
I just want to illustrate something. Today's session is going to be incredibly exciting. I'm going to lay out the ground rules. It's exciting because you're all talking about these amazing cultivars, and today we've got the two companies that I consider to have made the best wine glasses in their category in the world. Meaning, if you want to consume products and consuming at the cutting edge of technology, I have the two companies here today that I think are doing that in their product categories. Another really exciting thing today is we've got new cultivars that Mike and I are going to talk about for the first time in recorded history. We've got Guava's World Series for you, which is really cherry pie and Congolese cross that came from a man in Jamaica. Guava is the owner of the Blue Hole, one of the most famous cultivation and breeding centers of Jamaica. And we were blessed to be provided this cultivar and be the crew to represent it in Canada for Guava. Guava, if you're listening right now, shout out, man. We love you. Now, we're going to be packing these cultivars into the amazing pipe that was given to us. Thank you so much, Darryl. By the boys at Genius Pipe, and we're going to be tasting that throughout today's session as we tackle the material. Now, ground rules. Remember, Tim, Darryl, you guys are more than encouraged to cut in and make any comments during my presentation, during each other's presentation. This is meant to be a conversation. Now, all of the attendees, same deal. Ask your questions. You're here with us. You're here with Genius Pipe. You can ask them directly, have a conversation with them. And of course, if you want to talk anything about our genetics or anything that we're up to in terms of cannabis, shoot away. Mike and I are here as well.
I have an interruption already.
All right.
Dean is having trouble getting into that fourth camera to join us.
Oh, he can join us halfway. He will be
ready.
and I will introduce him as soon as he joins.
He's ready now. He just can't get in apparently. So.
Yep, Dwayne, that purple pine berry that you're smoking on, is that the pine tar cross, or is that the original purple pine? That's like the outdoor. Was that an outdoor cultivar, Dwayne? Because I'm telling you right now, man, if you're doing that original DC purple line, that's for the outdoor. That's one of the few cultivars that can finish in this region and rival the Texada Time Warp. I knew it, Dwayne. See, I knew it was the outdoor. Because that genetic, man, I'm telling you, that particular genetic is something that, well, Texada Time Warp and those purples, that's what I'm going to be working on when I get to my outdoor licensed facility, which, of course, is not there yet, but it's in my head and I'm moving towards it. Here we go. So I'm going to put the presentation on screen for everyone. Mind you that this is, yes, we're all having a conversation. We're talking about cultivars. Mike here is sampling cultivars. We're going to be using pieces, but it's primarily an academic and educational pursuit that we are here for. So here we go. Remember that we have a giveaway at the end of today's session, okay? One lucky participant that stays until the end of the session will be receiving a PAX vaporizer and a Genius pipe. This is like the coolest giveaway we've ever had.
You're getting better. You're getting better.
Holy shit. We started with a volcano.
Got someone new.
Hey, Dean, what's up? Dean is a man that I respect very deeply. He is the original designer of the Genius pipe, a design that I think improves on a very ancient technology that we're about to discover just how ancient and from what parts of the world and just how it happens. Dean, thank you for joining us. Dean is a connoisseur on the subject that I am about to present on. So Dean, you weren't here for the introduction. Please interrupt me and make comments on my presentation when you see something that excites you that you know about, okay? Here we go. Here we go. So Pipe Dreamz, first of all, CannaReps is just me, my partner Julie, who is at home taking care of her baby right now, and Michael, who is my master grower and again a brother, a family member to me. Our company is focused on inspiring mindful cannabis appreciation through product knowledge, science, and cultural appreciation. When you're weak on any of these 3 points, you're missing a limb, you're missing a leg. You cannot walk straight in this industry when you're missing one of those 3 components. Culture, very underestimated. Interactive cannabis education is what we're all about. We want to talk to you, share our expertise. We come from the industry. We're not people that became educators just because we're educators. We became educators like all the rest of these folks on the screen because we're tried and tested on the industry, okay? Improving industry standards is what this is all about. This show, this company, and all of us share those values that are here today. So our agenda, we're gonna dive right into the history of smoking and vaping. Mike and I love this subject matter. He's smiling, he knows what's coming. Okay, next we're gonna do pipe science and innovation. I brought Genius Pipe to show you what I believe is the height of pipe innovation right now, okay? I also brought in PAX to show you the height of vaporization technology, the leader in the category. I'm so excited to have both of you here. Thank you so much for coming again. So here we go. The history of smoking and vaporizing. Mind you, this is what people don't realize about the beginning of smoking and vaporizing. This is gonna blow your mind, okay? First thing is what he's doing right now. Funny because, you know, I've got native blood in me. He's got traditional Eastern European blood and culture in him. Our people have been smoking for a very, very, very long time. And it was spiritual and it was an intrinsic part of our culture, okay, of our ancestors and most of our ancestors, because we're all tied in. Remember, like cannabis, humans have fluid genetic structure, meaning the concept of race is going to be culturally created. Culture is real. The experience of living as a particular race is real, But as scientists will confirm, we have fluid genetic, okay? So ancient times, the folks that were living in the old world, they weren't actually smoking that much compared to the people in the new world. And this is a fact that's oftentimes overlooked in historical reviews of smoking devices and this type of history. So the first vaporizers and the first pipes, it intersects. First of all, the oldest pipe is going to blow your mind. Made out of bone, found in the Americas, of course, because shamanistic tradition in the Americas is the oldest, the most established. Made out of bone, 9,000 BC. That's 11,000 year old pipe. Okay? So now, they weren't smoking cannabis, though. We found no traces on any of those pipes. Mind you that my expertise was ethnoarchaeology. I practiced that for a couple of years. I decided it wasn't for me. I can confirm to you, I actually dug up some temples in Yucatan. You never find any traces of cannabis in classic Yucatan era. You don't find it. People there were not smoking cannabis. They were doing all kinds of other hallucinogens, tons, like literally every other one on the planet, but not cannabis. The oldest evidence of cannabis vaporization and smoking actually comes from Western China, okay? It comes, and this is interesting because a lot of people think that the ancient Chinese were not into cannabis in drug form because most of the cultivars that you find in China today, chinensis, are hemp cultivars, Chinese hemp cultivars, which are not used nowadays for drug consumption primarily, even though so many ethnic people do, absolutely. So how old is this? Well, that blows your mind that the oldest vaporizer, which you're looking at there, is stones that would get red hot. They put them into the center of that chalice-like wood holder and just put the buds or the hashish on top. And you know what's mind-blowing about this archaeological find? That I read the whole publication because I'm so into this stuff. The concentration of the resins found on that vaporizer, now think about how that's used. You put the bud and the hash on top, and then you put a cloth over your head, and you, okay? And just so you know, Herodotus had described this method. Who was Herodotus? Is one of the most ancient historians that ever recorded written history in letters that we're used to, of course, because Chinese and cuneiform came way before that. But the most ancient Greek historian, Herodotus, described this thing that you're looking at on the screen right now. And he described how the ethnic people of Eastern Europe would toke it up using primarily the hot stone method. So the hot stone method wasn't just Western Chinese. The hot stone method extended into Siberia, Eastern Europe, into the Middle East, into Africa. You find this type of evidence. Now, what I was going to say, though, is that hash was potent as hell. This concept that people weren't smoking potent THC product back then is complete nonsense. Found the residue on that particular device that you're looking at on screen, and they estimate that the concentration of THC in that resin was in excess of 40%. You could scrape that resin today from 3. What is that? 4.5. Get high. Okay, that's nuts. That's just okay. Vaporizing and burning cannabis on hot stones was really popular for a long time, but look, Native Americans were way more sophisticated with how they were consuming their smoke because it's so, look, it goes as far back as those people exist. As far back as we have indications of Americans being in America, we have indications of them smoking in a variety of ways. Cigar, and we're going to get into that, but
I just want to make a comment right now about the irony of the situation currently is that the image of a professor, back some distinguished professor back in 19th century England is one who's got this tremendous beard and end up smoking a pipe, right? Smoking a pipe in hand. But the reality is that when the white man, right, or Europeans first made contact with the natives here in Canada, specifically, it was the natives who were smoking the pipes, and they were being described as savages for having done so. And how funny is it then now that this tradition ends up making its way all around the world at that point in time, right? And then coming back into the hands of those who describe the savagery. and becomes a mark of intelligence. I think that's just mind-blowing too.
Yeah, and Dom, I see your comments, and yeah, there's many people who have the theories around Africans being the first, and to be honest, it's hotly debated. There is a bit more evidence for the original ancestry of the genetic in general as being Central Asian and moving to Africa at a very early date, absolutely. But we're actually probably going to dedicate an entire episode to just that subject matter. So thank you for mentioning that, Dom. That's a very good point. The Scythians, sorry, he likes me to pronounce it correctly because they're his ancestors. So the Scythians were one exception to the rule in Europe. The Scythians, they inhabited as far as Siberia, Eastern Europe, all the way down to Iran. They people that were conquering the grasslands.
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, I think they were one of the only groups of people that were not conquered by Alexander the Great as he made his way across because they were nomadic, right? So they just basically picked up their said, "Well, fuck you. Go ahead and go ahead and conquer my city."
over there.
And they smoked so much cannabis before battle.
That's true.
And that's a big reason why people across the world, for example, Chinese, they knew that the ethnic people at the skirts of their empire all smoked cannabis before battle. So a big reason why the Chinese empire is saying, no, people inside my empire, they don't smoke China, they don't smoke this stuff. You can grow it for hemp, but you don't get to smoke it legally. It was illegal. Only ethnic people in China today are allowed to possess and smoke cannabis without intrusion of the state. To this day, ethnic people are allowed to do it. And you wouldn't believe that about a totalitarian Chinese state, but you don't believe everything you believe about people down there. It was made of a solid gold. Okay, so the bong, the first bong that ever existed, made of solid gold. And well, maybe not existed, but the first one we found, because maybe Native American people right now would say, hey, oh. Right? But the first one, the oldest we've ever found, the first bong, was the one that was found in the Scythian landscape, okay? And it was made of solid gold. Let me show you what this thing looks like. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. Look at the design. Look at the artistry. Like it could rival any of. And think about how it worked. The piece on top would float on top of water, right? And then the cable would go inside. It's a very intriguing design. We're going to talk a lot about design today. So design is one of my favorite topics. So ancient design. This is Bronze Age era design. Yeah, very exciting.
Beautiful.
Now the hookah. I've been asked to mention the hookah. It was a very important creation because look, Iranians, they debate that it was much more ancient than the industrialized version that was invented by an Iranian physician in India. They say that it spans back to the 1100s. I believe it, but the first one we have on record was in the 1500s, and it was mass produced in India right after it was invented, patented by the physician in question, and then it went global. It was the first bong / vaporizer to go global. Think about that, because the hookah doesn't really just burn your stuff. You put the coals on top, it heats the surface, and there's both burning and vaporization, kind of like with the hot coal method. So people in Morocco, for example, where I hung out, they would put some hashish into their shisha. Remember, shisha is just a flavored tobacco mixture. That's how this thing got started. Remember that pipes weren't hot in the old world until tobacco from Native Americans made it over. Never forget that lesson after today. Native Americans have contributed a lot to global culture, but people like to forget it. They like to forget about their technology and about all of their understandings, which are going to tie into some of the science we're about to cover here. I've got about 2 to 3 minutes here to complete my presentation, so I'm going to blow through it. People think that the chillum is incredibly ancient, that Indians and that Africans have the most ancient pipe technology. Again, archaeological findings contradict this, okay, as well as ethnobotanical findings. It's, yes, they smoke chillum. Yes, the chillum is very ancient, particularly for certain sects of ascetic monks that come from India that spread their tradition all the way through Africa, through South Africa, through Madagascar. The very tight cultural connections between South Africa, Madagascar, and India that are very ancient. Trading routes, the food there, if you've ever gone to South Africa, is so curry-based, so clear, the Indian influence and the presence, how African culture and India combined is so beautiful. Chillum was not actually that huge until tobacco made its way down. That's the thing, that pipes and smoking as a whole in the ancient world were just not a central aspect of culture, because people in India, what were they doing? What were people in India doing?
They were just
Drinking bang, man. Bang, just so all of you know, is either cannabis powder or hashish diluted usually into milk, which works as a fat that will dilute all of that THC and activate it a little bit, not too much. People like to say, oh, it's not possible because it can only boil to 100 degrees. Why don't you drink some bang and you tell me that bang isn't activated? Because I drank bang and I'm telling you, you boil it at 100 degrees, yeah, and it does activate some of those compounds and you do get high. I'm telling you. Anyways, so again, pipes become more common in the old world after tobacco makes it there. You find it in the archaeological record after the 17th century, that's the 1600s. Now, joints and cannabis cigars, that's right, cannabis cigars, that's again, Native American, specifically Mexican invention. Specifically Mexican Native American groups tie into Nahuatl-speaking traditions. Nahuatl was the language of the Aztecs. I come from where the Aztecs had their temple, Tenochtitlan, their center, okay? I know a lot about that, and so I'm one of the few people that can say this word and can tell you the story of this word. Pipiltintintlis.
I don't believe you.
Pipiltintintlis are the most ancient word that we have in the Americas for cannabis. And it originates from the 1600s. By the 1700s, there was already priests that were writing about Pipiltintintlis and about how they were next to the opium in the witch doctor table at the market, and they didn't like the witch doctor table at the market. So they came up to the witch doctor and they asked the witch doctor, and this is not a joke, this is legitimate history. They were like, lady, what are you doing with these flowers? What do you do with them? She says, oh, sir, we talk to the gods with the flower. We crush it, we eat it. He's like, do you smoke it? She's like, no, we only eat the seed. Of course they were smoking it, because Native Americans smoke everything. And the moment the cannabis got there, they were like, oh, no, yeah. She didn't want to say smoking because smoking was associated with devil worship. The whole smoking thing, the incenses, all of it was part of their rituals, and the rituals were made illegal. So they were like, no, sir, I don't burn it. I don't make incense. I don't do none of that. Of course they were. So a lot of people like to say that, oh, people in Latin America were not doing that. But then when you collect records from the 1750s, the 1820s, the 1850s, from that point forward, the reports of cannabis smoking are ubiquitous. Every single person that makes reference to Native people and how uncouth and how below the whites they are always makes reference to the fact that these people are smoking all day and they shouldn't be smoking. We're making it illegal for them to. So, this anti-smoking thing for Native-based culture is pretty insulting. And we need to realize that if you choose to put smoke into your body, sure, you might not be allowed legally to do it in a public area. I agree with that. But don't be highly critical of individuals that choose to smoke cannabis or that choose to smoke some other sacred herb on and off in a healthy way, in a conscious way, right? And Pipiltintlis is the story of precisely this chasing people for the fact that it's the first time on record that they're chasing natives for using cannabis, demonizing, of course, smoking and vaporization. The inhalation is the problem. That's what the church doesn't like. They don't like inhalation, okay? And so remember that the Spaniards learned how to roll joints and how to make cannabis cigars from the natives. And the Spaniards took that back to Spain, and they made the first Rollies factories, okay, at the beginning of the 1700s. And so that's how that happens. And that package you're seeing there on the screen, it was hard for me to find, is a picture of the first Rollies package ever made, okay?
That's how
So if you find one of those, yeah, make sure you keep the bye-bye, make sure you keep that. That's worth money, yo. Anyways, now, the first vaporizer, lots of early patents throughout the 1900s. The first one that made it in the market was one made by pharmacist Honlik, who made it after his father died of lung cancer. Okay, so very inspiring story there, because we know that vapor is generally safer for people that have chronic pulmonary conditions, not always, but usually, okay? And just so everybody has a clear understanding of the basics of vaporization science, remember that all compounds in our flower have a specific vaporization point. Remember that you're all getting this chart, you're all getting these slides. These PDFs are yours to have after the session. Okay, I'm going to send it to you, email and at the session. This is precisely why PAX designs their technology the way that they do, because they're not just setting a temperature to wherever they feel it's right. They base it on scientific principles that are solid, verified. There's a big reason, several reasons why you want to vaporize. And I want to speak to that because it would not be cool for me to leave this session without that. Remember, vaping is cheaper. Vaping, you're going to spend less money. Whether you're vaping your flower, you're vaping your concentrates, it's going to be cheaper for you. Now, vaping cannabis flower or cannabis extracts without harmful cutting agents has not been proven to be incredibly damaging to your lungs. Okay, despite what other people might tell you, the science is not there. Okay, now the same thing goes for smoking. There has been no convincing link between pulmonary cancer and smoking cannabis. There's lots of studies that point to it, but when they're replicated by other groups and by other models, they always fail to pan out. So definitely it can cause bronchitis.
It can also treat bronchitis too, by the way, though. And I can speak to that because I have chronic bronchitis. So when I smoke cannabis, while I'm smoking it, I may be coughing, but it dilates my bronchioles.
Lots of people with asthma get benefit from either smoking or vaping. It's a very personal choice for those patients I found over the years. If you don't know, for those of you who don't know me out there, I spent over a decade on the front lines helping people with conditions and recording how they reacted to different product formats. And I can tell you firsthand that the relationship between asthma, smoking, or vaping it's amazing how you would think that those are the last people that should inhale, but the patients are the ones who tell you. They're like, look, it doesn't matter what the doctor's telling you. I'm telling you it helps me, and I'm choosing to treat myself despite my doctor's indication. So I'm not saying that I'm correct in my opinion. I'm just saying that this is my observation, having worked with patients over many years. Okay? Now, remember that this is the bottom line. When people are like, what's better, smoking or vaping? Well, as a patient, I have to stop the question right there. It depends what you want to get from your product. And it depends what your budget is. And it depends what your palate prefers and what you're used to, what you grew up with, who you are culturally.
And there's no reason why you can't do both.
First
of all.
Thank you.
But I want to speak to something about vaping too, and something that I think is really important about it, and why I really like it. First of all, in comparison to smoking, it's just, I mean, the flavors are so much, I can really taste the essences, and I find I taste the essence of the flower so much more. So I'm able to pick apart I don't want to say I can pick apart the terpenes necessarily, but I can definitely pick apart the dominant chords and structures of the flavor when I'm vaporizing. And typically that's because in comparison to a pipe, there's a lot of resin buildup in pipes. And I mean, well, we're going to speak about the Genius pipe in a bit and how that kind of eliminates that problem, right? But when we talk about vaporizing, for me, I find that number one, I can really taste flavors much more intensely. Obviously, it stretches out the cannabis much longer, right? So whatever cannabis you have on hand, it will go longer, right? And third, and most importantly, is that, and the science is there to show that as we've spoken about these vaporization points, right, or these boiling points of these terpenes, and also cannabinoids also have their own boiling points too, right? So you can dial in certain vaporizers as long as that vaporizer company's done the due diligence to you can ensure, let's just put it this way, that you don't get too high of a heat, because when you smoke a joint, this is burning at close to 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, right? And when you do that, everything's gone. You're getting everything, right? Whereas with a vaporizer, you can pitch it at a low temperature and gradually raise that up, right, throughout the range. And I find that way really gives you a nice, it's just, for me, I find it's much more full-bodied experience and or much more controlled.
Okay. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
I just want to say that we've got a little bit over time, so I'm going to just skid right through my announcement section, okay? And we're going to give the ground to Genius Pipe in a moment here. This is the moment, though, that we do our smoke break. So I am going to take a little midway toke. I was going to dab during the section because I got this amazing dab rig additive for the Genius pipe. But I have to be frank with you, Dean and Darryl. I can't dab and present, so I'm not going to do it. I will make a video post presentation live.
Do it.
So what I have in here right now, this is the World Series. This is that Jamaican. Again, this is a cross between cherry pie and Congolese, okay? As I take my toke, I'm going to show you this amazing advertisement that, now this represents our advertisement section. Keep in mind that we don't have any sponsors yet. So anybody out there who would like to see such beautiful slides, or maybe a video, or maybe even me talking about your product or your service, of course, if your product or service is as cool as these guys. Mind you, these guys did not pay me for being on the show today. Both of them are my invites because they are leaders in the industry sector. We're going to tackle questions in one moment, okay? But I did want to say one thing, okay? If you do want to take that sponsorship spot, reach out to us at info@CannaReps.ca. We're going to go right into questions as I take a toke. And after a few questions, Dean, we're going to talk about the Genius pipe as I'm tasting it, because I'm going to sample a couple of different cultivars now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to be showing that amazing feature, which is the magnetic opener, which reveals the inside and allows me to scrape away the resin from my last tasting, giving me a completely neutral and clean toke. Okay, here we go. Let's look at some questions here. Okay. Would you say that the inch behind the joke that some of the cannabis is getting vaporized?
Would you say that the inch behind the joint that some of the yeah, of course. I mean, but yeah, so that you're getting a combination of burning and vaporization technically when you're smoking a joint, but you're definitely getting the combustion. Like there's no doubt that 1,000 degrees is burning the flower and the oils, and it's combusting, and that's adding a different component to the flavor and or masking. That's basically the point that I was trying to make.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's always going to be partial vapor wherever you have heat. You're always going to have partial vaporization when you have a complex matrix like a flower, right? But yeah, what he said. And Tim or Dean, if you want to speak to any of these questions while we're tackling them, okay? Can you speak to the difference in high between smoking and vaping? So please, Tim, do you have something in mind?
I would say from what I know that when you're vaping, you only extract certain cannabinoids, which potentially would be a difference between extracting more through burning than less through vaping.
I completely, and that's absolutely generally the scientific basis for us, I believe as well. And for me, speaking personally, and from, again, serving clients for many, many, many years, smoking is generally perceived as being heavier than vaporizing a flower or an extract. Now, for me, vaporizing an extract is way heavier than smoking a flower. But that's what my body's used to. My CD1 down regulation pattern, that's just an endocannabinoid term that refers to how my body got used to certain compounds, is different than other people's, right? So really, a lot of individuals call vaporization high a cleaner high, a lighter high, just like the flavor. The flavor off of a joint or a pipe is a little bit more smoky. A lot of people don't like that sooty flavor that comes with that, right? So anyway.
Let's ask Pax about the guys.
Onset too, right? Like I love to control and like for me, vaping, the beautiful combination of discretion and onset. I can go up in my backyard for 30 seconds, 3 times, within a 5-10 minute period, and I'm exactly where I want to be.
I think that's a great point. That because also toking is heavier for a lot of people, you get there really quick and sometimes not as controlled because you can take one toke and be uncomfortable. Yeah. I totally hear that. In particular with the type of cultivar that I'm tasting right now. It's heavy business. It's the cherry pie just comes out so sweet. The Congo delivers some citrus twists. It's so nice. It's really rendering so nice on the piece. I think that starts to make a nice transition for us, Dean. We're going to tackle some more questions in a moment. Dean, why don't you tell us a little bit about your design, okay? Again, for people that haven't been familiar with these pieces, here's one that's been used extensively by Michael. You can see how it's gone everywhere with him. It's quite dirty on the outside because he does a lot of work on the grow side and smokes a lot of weed, but the inside of the pipe is pristine. There's no oil on it. There's no resin on it anymore because all he did was take out a 420 wipe.
Oh, there is actually. I just smoked out of it. So there's
there you go. There you go.
You
can barely see. Yeah.
Here, you can see where that little bead is right there. So that lines up with where the screen for the pipe is. And essentially all you do is take a 420 wipe or any type of, isopropyl alcohol based solution and give it a little wipe like that, right? And then even you can go ahead and extend all the way down like so, and then
it's sort of like
done.
the sorbet course between courses in a meal. You take out the wipe, it cleans your palate.
Exactly. And basically what ends up happening is, because this is what the primary reason why CannaReps was always anti using pipes for tastings, was because it doesn't matter how fancy your glass pipe gets, you can't really clean it, right? So if you can't clean it, then you cannot start from a neutral place, okay? And I'm telling you right now that starting from a neutral place, if you've taken our cannabis sommelier course, you know that that's the downfall of the bong, the downfall of the pipe, okay? You always gonna have residual flavor from the last cultivar, okay? So when you have a Genius pipe or a PAX vaporizer, you don't really have to go through that because those pieces are easy to clean. They are easy to get to a neutral level. And that's really what you're looking for tastings. You want neutrality, you want some level of cooling and filtration, because otherwise, the inhalation will be harsh if there's heat attached to that, right? And I believe that the mechanisms that we're going to review today accomplish this nicely. Now, if you are going to smoke, a lot of people don't like to smoke anymore. And, Dean, a lot of people, and Tim, a lot of people say that, smoking will become increasingly a thing of the past. How does it feel? I know that PAX definitely feels inclined that way a bit, right, Tim?
Not the data. The data doesn't show it, actually. The data shows that flower is a king. And for now, yeah, today's data, I agree with you, Dean. Today's data is today's data. We've definitely seen that reduced over time with the entrance of concentrates and vaporizers to the market. The study that was done, and I recently read it, just a study of people that, their preferences. And a lot of people say we want to mainly stay with flower just because we like the experience of flower. And I think this is, if I had to say, I usually don't look at the past to predict the future, but in this case, I'd say if people smoked for 15,000 years, they might smoke for a couple thousand years more.
Yeah, Adolfo, it's not going away. It is king, and we know we all love the plant, and I think there's a certain connection we make to it when we're consuming it in that fashion. We would see, probably 40% of the category, 50%, in the long term still being dried flower, and embrace that, and you think about just the access that you can get, how easy it is to access, the price value of it. There's so many factors, let alone just the consuming behavior and the enjoyment side, that's going to keep that around forever. And it should. Well,
and I'm always impressed with Tim's opinion because he's a very balanced man. And I have to say, Dean, that when people are innovating in the sector, brother, I've got to tell you, man, look, I have to confess to you. Before I received your pipe, you can attest to this, I was a naysayer. I said, there's no pipe that can impress me. Pipes, never going to smoke a pipe. I smoke joints, only joints, ever joints. Now, I have to say, brother, that I really like the ability to clean so freaking easy. And the percolation, I mean, you're going to talk to this, Dean. You've got to tell us about this, brother. Like,
Right. Sure.
these little percolations, what they're doing for me is they cool it down. Like, I haven't dabbed with the piece yet, man, but they cool the smoke down and they give it a lot of just smoothness. Now, if it's very poorly flushed cultivar, it's not going to save it.
Yeah.
It's not going to save it. It's still going to be harsh. That's not what it does. But definitely, it's smooth and cool. How did you come up with this, man?
So it's been a process for me. It's a lifelong journey, I would say. It took a different piece of my life, all in all, 9 years to make it. So and not only me, it was a lot of people. You know, it was a team effort in a way. Some of the people already not even with us that started with me. For example, you know, my partner, who was a physicist, who invented the overall dimple service, which I'm gonna talk in a minute. He passed away, so he's not with us anymore. But essentially, what happened is we took this technology that was first created to cool nuclear power stations, and at the same time, incidentally invented to use in the golf ball to make it fly twice further, all for the same effect. And the fact is that there is a certain pattern that you can create that guarantees that fluid or air, whichever physical fluid you take, will not pass it just like that. It has to turn into a tornado. A little it's gonna spin. So essentially what you create is with every breath, you create around 2,000 little tornadoes within the pipe. And smoke has to pass through this field of tornadoes to get to your mouthpiece. So that creates a cooling and filtering effect with the air itself by the power of your draw.
That one toke I took, that is the amount of soot that it took out of it. And see, with every little tornado, I guess it just continues to cool it down, give it a nice purification effect. So yeah, I noticed the effect of what you're talking about.
What you'll see is as the resin builds up on the inside of the pipe there, it will move and get gradually lighter and lighter toward the mouthpiece. And at the mouthpiece, there'll be nothing. So you can see that it's pulling everything out before it gets to the mouthpiece. So.
Well, you can tell on the inhalation. I'm highly impressed by this part. This is the part
Right.
That's it.
that makes me really happy. That's the part that makes me really happy. See that? It's clean as a whistle, and I'm ready to take a toke from another cultivar. So we've got the World Series that we've already tasted here on the piece. The World Series, again, it's the cherry pie crossed into the Congo line, crossed into an unknown Jamaican, given to us by Waba himself from the Blue Hole. We've got over here the new one we're going to try. This we're calling Flintstones Vitamin Candy, the FVC. How many of you out there tasted Flintstones Vitamin Candy when you were growing up? Because I got to tell you, this cultivar that Mike and I have been working on smells exactly like it. Like exactly. It's not kind of like it. It's exactly like it. Medicine-y, cherry. Now, well, you know, they're probably going to get us on the copyright on that one. But we're going to give it a taste, okay? We're going to give it a taste.
Let's just misspell Flintstones, that's all.
Anyways, please, we're going to open the floor to questions. Ask Dean some questions about the pipe before we move on to Pax. Pax is going to answer. I know that there's a lot of questions on here for Pax, which we will tackle, but let's talk about Genius Pipe a bit. Anybody got any questions for them? I will mention that there's an additive here that goes right there, and you can actually dab on the same piece that you were smoking on. So I'm looking forward to trying the purification effect on the dab.
So yeah, so let me just show you pretty quickly how you could mount it. So this,
I'm gonna collect some questions for you here.
you put this piece that goes down, and you
Yeah.
and into your dab rig. So it's water-free, world's first water-free dab rig, and it comes basically packed with all the features. So it's super tactical. So there is a dab kit.
Yeah, and so you hear that, people?
Or your concentrate.
That's the coolest part. It's water-free, so you never have to worry about being on a hike or whatever, or spilling on yourself or whatever. That's the other feature I really like about this pipe. It's water-free. Water will remove some water-soluble terpenes out of your toke. This is an advantage that both packs and Genius Pipe will provide to the consumer. Now, does it remove an enormous amount of water-soluble terpenes? No, it doesn't. But it does reduce the terpene load of your vapor or smoke. So this is one of the reasons why using a piece that does not use water, that cools the smoke and filters it for you, is really nice when doing tastings, in our opinion. Okay. Genius Pipe availability in government-run cannabis stores is the question. What do you say to that?
They are available at OCS and pretty much any other store across the nation.
Okay. Pretty much any other head shop across the nation. In Canada,
come to your local store, and if they don't carry, request it, and they'll get it for you.
Awesome. Okay, Dean. Next question. We've got, where can we purchase? Oh, the same question. Okay, it is the same question. Damn it. Okay.
Also get it at geniuspipe.com.
I've got a question, Dean. What is the average price to public? How much are people going to pay for one of these things?
Boy, so I mean, it varies, I guess, on the design. We have a mini that is a little cheaper. I'm not sure I have it here, but essentially, in Canada, I'd say it would vary roughly at about starting 75 Canadian and going up to 180 Canadian, depending on the model. Because there's like you could start with the mini pipe, which is this actually. So this is the mini pipe comparing to your normal size. And then you have all the different designs that you could buy. So those are a little bit more expensive. So there's a range, and then this one comes as a dab rig. So it comes with the pipe and all the dab attachment. So this one is $120 US. So roughly 150.
And it's not. And Dean, sorry to cut you off. It's not compatible with an e-nail, correct?
Not at the moment, no. We have our own nail that we call.
Okay. And just so you guys know out there, a good way to resolve this is just getting a temperature gun. Getting a temperature gun is great because that way you can use any piece and gauge your temperature. Dean, we're gonna have to move on to packs because we're tight on time. But thank you so much, Dean. Don't go yet because we're still giving away at the end. Give us any input throughout the way. I'm going to stop my presentation. Please, Tim, go ahead and share your screen with us. Let's talk about the most cutting edge developments in vaporization technology. Okay, because the most recent stuff that Pax is doing is exciting. Let's talk about it. It's coming. We've got a slight delay on the screen share. It's normal. Don't worry. It'll happen in a moment.
Adolfo, I still think can you hear me? You hear me okay?
Yeah, Darryl. Go ahead, Darryl.
I was thinking that the pipi titilitis or whatever, it's like one of those tattoos you get in Mandarin or Cantonese, and you think you know what it says, and then the person tells you and that it's like calling you an asshole or something, but it's like a fake word that you've made. So that's funny. So hey, can everyone see it? Can we see it? You see the screen?
Yes.
All right, we're rock and roll. So hey guys, thanks for having me. I'm gonna keep this pretty casual, but I've been engaging a bit on the chat. I absolutely love this forum. I'll tell you, I love what these guys are doing even more. So we need to take, the pretentiousness, the back alley approach to, two different kind of extremes of this category, rip through that. And the way we're going to get through stigma, destigmatization, and embracing of all the benefits medicinally and recreationally of this plant is through great education and knowledge. So that's my preach for these guys, because my team's been through it, and we love what they're doing as an organization.
Thanks so much, Tim.
So let me just see here how All right. So who is Pax? I'm going to go pretty quick because I got a lot of slides, but I'd rather listen to people and take questions. You don't necessarily need to know the history, but as it comes to the legal cannabis business and building global cannabis brands, which sounds like a pretty crazy comment because right now, cannabis, as you know, I lead up the Pax Business Canada and International, different phases of development in every country, legal, illegal, medical, form factor, etc. But we are one of the few truly global cannabis brands and one of, if not the most trusted brand in cannabis. So this journey only started about 13 years ago, and it's brought us to today here in 13 years later, and I'll go into a lot of these key dates along the way. I think the thing I love about why everyone, 800 people on the call today and 3 or 4 of us on the video is I think everyone for the most part shares this first statement, which is we're all here to establish cannabis as a force for good. I think we believe in this plant, if it's used appropriately, whether that's medicinally or recreation at the right age, at the right time, in the right way. I think it's something that's going to be, in 20 years, we're all going to laugh about all the crap we went through to make this category accepted in the broader society in Canada and beyond. The other thing we really love about this slide is we're trying to build a brand that our families are proud of, and that's a pretty high standard. That's why you've never heard of Pax with being caught up in the challenges of the vitamin E acetate tragedy or a lot of the things along that line. We've had this slide since we've been created, not just when it got trendy. The things I think I want you to take away from any device you ever buy from us is that we want it to be predictable, safe, and of high quality. So whether that's every single part that goes in it, that we know what those metals are, what the food grade level of safety is, and the long-term testing beyond it. And also, we're a favorite of a lot of the regulators and those who hold the keys to the castle when we have things like lockout features or things that can make sure it doesn't get in the hands of the wrong people. So for those, I think there were some comments and questions in the chat, which is awesome. If a few people didn't know, we've launched our Era Pro device yet in Canada, and I'm going to go into that right now. I'm going to lead with our biggest and our most exciting innovation to date, and the one Adolfo is kind of referring to on our future of where we think cannabis might be going. But our entire business model was built off of our originally called the Plume business, or the dried loose leaf flower business, right now called the Pax 2 and the Pax 3, or the Pax 3 Complete when you get our full kit. And then as of 2.0, we launched our Era Classic, and as of just last month, we launched our Pro device. Basically, keep it simple. Customers, whether it's this goddamn ring tells me how I slept last night, to, hey, I want to know what's actually going in my body. Consumers are becoming a lot more discerning on what they're doing. And, we had a rough go last year in the US in our business when some bad actors who were cutting with vitamin E acetate and Lord knows whatever else, they killed some people, basically. And that's a black mark. But I'll leave you with one quote on that. If you're talking to someone in retail or a regulator, you don't solve people dying by drinking bad moonshine by putting locks on the liquor store, right? You regulate it, you make it safe, you make it accessible, you make it priced appropriately, and don't tax the shit out of it too. That's the things we can do to make sure people go to the right avenue.
Yeah.
Word. All right. So we think the future of vape in particular relies on this transparency. Candidly, right now, there's not a lot of innovation in Canada yet. Not even a year in. There's not a lot. Has anyone? There's very few, if any, rosin or resin in that format. There's a hell of a lot of distillate, and there's a hell of a lot of the same, priced at varying degrees right now. And right now we're going to be have launched our Era Pro device. And so the first thing, if you know Era at all, it's our first time going in colors. So I think the colors will click as I click here. You'll see a picture here in a second, and I'll show those again. But really, what we're bringing is a level of transparency never seen in the category. So you can know if you have a smart pod, and you'll see more and more come out over the next few months and saturate the market. Eventually, all of them will be. I got one here somewhere. All it is better if you see that little red ring, you'll know it's a smart pod if it has that little red ring around it. And basically all we've done there is with producer, we flashed that with all the information about that pod. So it's an NFC reader that they flash it, and you'll see what kind of information that unlocks. So I'm going to really quickly go through, what else does it bring you? It brings you that pod ID. So you can see there, I'm going to go into it. all your COAs, all your test results, all your terp profiles, basically takes the guesswork out of cannabis. Think of it as your cannabis companion. Second, this is my baby. This is my first era. You see, my boys and girls, branded it for me in our engraving event, the date we launched. And, it's still the best mousetrap out there, but this one's that much better. Improved design, even better airflow, etc. Expert temp. You can basically, the moment I pop this into our Pro device, so I'll do a little unboxing here. This is our teal Pro device, little sexy Apple-like unboxing. You get that sexy little bad boy in there. And then when I pop that in, I won't do the full demo, but basically as soon as I pop that smart pod in here, it recognizes what's in that device and it will translate that into your Android app or your desktop app. But what it'll start at the temperature that the extractor thought it was the best temperature to consume at. But if I don't like that and I do a little trick here, either manually, you'll see I can override it by tapping and do my temperatures right there. It will remember when I take that pod out, put another one in and put that pod back in, it'll remember what I overrode because that's how I like to consume it. And I don't care what that, extraction expert says I should, but it's a great starting point for the newbies. Pod Explorer lets you go and look at every pod available in Canada. You'll be able to see all the different profiles of them. And then dose control, not to say anything bad about my competition. I respect everyone what they're trying to do and what their products are meant for. We are not a glorified 510 with a stopwatch. We have a controlled consistency of vapor based on a tremendous amount of factors. And the best thing, guys and gals out there, you can turn it on and off, right? It's a feature. It's hey, I'm learning that way, and then I know kind of what my 3 glasses of wine are equivalent. Then I can go and I can move off that. So just quickly, when it comes to the Cannabis with Clarity on the pod ID, you can see some of the strain level information. That's sort of some of the, everyone knows what a COA is. It's basically a certificate of analysis in Canada. And that will show you all the things that, wherever they went to get their certification and all their passing grades, all the way down to the batch level. We talked a little bit about temperature. You can start where the pro thinks you should start and overrise to it. You can see those little dots there that represent that. And then, dosing. We are not yet to the technical level from a GMP and technical certification to say this is exactly how many, milligrams. So we want to give ratios of dosage. So a 1 is 2 is twice a 1, 3 is twice a 1, etc. But long term, we want to do this and do it down to that specificity and level. That's probably a better picture of the colors. When in doubt, people just love colors and personalization. So we heard the consumer and we made that change. Sexy new packaging that comes along with that. You see it on a shelf or with your favorite bud tender and all our favorite bud tenders out there. Little bit about the slit, laser slit for improved airflow, etc. And you can see, some of the stuff behind the guts, even greater range and improved on the Bluetooth side. The other really cool thing versus a lot of current, everything I'm showing you here, I feel a haptic response. So a haptic, for those who don't know, is like Apple, when you have a vibration, when your phone rings. Basically on the dosing feature, when I have it set on 4 doses, when I meet that 1 dose that whatever I've sent it will remind me, but it'll let you keep going and not stop. And as soon as I tap this to change the temperature, or when I lock it in, I feel a little vibration that says, I'm in, I'm good to go.
Wow, do I have to charge this thing like every 30 seconds or? How often do you can charge this pipe? Like, wow.
This?
Yeah.
Oh, no. I mean, I charge my device and I use it almost every day. I charge it maybe once a week.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, no way, bro.
We have I'm going to lie. It's like a 300 mega, whatever it is. I'll have the battery technical information, but yeah, it's.
I was kind of making a joke earlier.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. There's a lot going on. The other thing, remember too, if you have a pod that's not smart yet and you buy the new Pro device, we're not pulling the Apple bullcrap on you where the innie doesn't fit the Audi. You can continue to use the 2A of the OG pods into the current device and not until you catch up and get your first smart pod, and both will work perfectly. You just want to unlock everything. I think the just takeaway here, and I hope you know this about packs and by our devices, like every detail matters for us. This is the stuff that, you believe it or not, if you cut one of our devices in half, these accelerometers, these coils, these boards, every single thing there. It blew my mind the first time I was in our technical department and looking at a battery cut in half. That is that. So just to recap, pretty pumped about this device. Great initial buy-in by the customer side. And those are the 5 key features that we're hitting home on that. The base era is still an incredible device that a lot of people will stay with forever. And we're certainly it's what brought us to the party in terms of the era platform and our extract and our pods. And it's still unmatched in terms of its quality. A leak rate of well less than half of 1%. We say that documented. It's even less than 0.25% at the last few year run rates. Your average 510 is going to leak on you about 5 to 6%. Roughly no nuance when it comes to the range of temperature and all the other great facts that we bring first. Draw activation, immediately ready for you, no warming up. Temperature control, you can do it manually or you can do it through the apps. Bluetooth compatible for those on an Android device or doing it on the desktop, and some more technical features. And I think
Tim, a question about the app. Have you made any headway with Apple on
I don't want to mislead the group, especially how nuanced and engaged this group is. They made a decision overnight to take 141 apps out of the App Store last December. I was sitting in Toronto at the Royal York Hotel, and I woke up to about 50 text messages. And we had a pretty good relationship with Apple, and we were shell shocked, especially being a good actor in a bad space. And remember, the intention of that removal was teen nicotine vaping, not cannabis at all. They weren't worried about the nuance. So we're working with Apple Canada because of a federally legal environment, and the hope is that we'd be able to come back earlier than anywhere else. But fun fact, over 50% of users in Canada are actually Android, and the desktop app is available to all the Apple users.
I just want to say, on behalf of somebody who's been frustrated with the information adjoined to products for a very long time, thank you so much for creating that. There was an interesting question too. Will there ever be any opportunity for home growers to load their extract? Like if you're making rosin at home, will there ever be?
Not in our Era device. Certainly in our P3 Complete with our concentrate adapter.
There you go.
But part of a closed loop system is trying to make sure for everyone that it's safe, right? And if you make it that it's difficult to manipulate, you're making that closed, and that closed advantage is that the inability to knock it off easily, Adolfo, candidly, and to use it inappropriately, right?
Gotcha, brother.
Just got a picture here of the desktop app. It's killer. I use it when I'm sitting at my desk. And we just launched 2 weeks ago a feature where when you have that smart pod or any pod, you can rate it. You can put some words in. You can put some things that remind you how much you liked it. You can use some ones we put there to guide you. And when you go back and you're signed in, you can see every pod you ever tried and why and what you liked and how and when and things like that. And then you can see this is just the Pod Explorer feature. You can see, we're building up. We've got about 25 SKUs on the platform right now. I saw a question come through around CBD. 100%. The 2 SKUs right now, we got a 1-to-1 with Balance from Soleil. We've got a 2-to-1 with Namaste just hitting right now with the Durgamata. We want to make sure every piece of innovation, every cannabinoid balance and profile is in our matrix eventually as we add new partners. And for those who are sitting in British Columbia, we announced yesterday a new partnership, Rubicon Organics, as our 7th or 8th partner on the platform. Okay. And going into that, you can see these are the brands you can get out there right now, right? You can get Soleil, Riff, 7 Acres, Edison, Aurora Drift, Namaste, Trail Mix, Fume Signature Series, and we announced Rubicon yesterday.
Awesome. Nice.
I'll go quick through this because I think I'm pretty much at time. But this little bad boy, this is my first ever PAX. This is about 7 years old. Got it in Colorado on a pleasure trip. Couldn't believe I spent $200-300 American, I think, at the time, because they were brand new. Still to this day, I use it. Still to this day, every upgrade, every firmware, everything still works with it, and it smells really good if you can smell it right now. So our PAX 2, this is the one that, hey, the consumer who comes in, they're curious, but they don't want all the apps and features. Hey, just give me the best wine glass for cannabis, as Adolfo mentioned earlier. And it gives you everything from a conductive heating, and we can talk conduction versus convection, but there's lots of thoughts on both sides of that equation. We believe in conduction. This is the best entry point, we believe, for that format. And there's very few products at this price point that even where they got produced and who they got produced by, let alone stand behind them with a 2-year warranty. Then really, this is an exciting day because I get to also show you guys, we just launched 4 new colors on our PAX 3 platform. So we've got a sexy new looking, I personally love far right because there's a little bit of cannabis color in it.
Alert from Google Chrome. Momo by Monthly.
And then you can see here in its packaging form. I'll tell you, it does not do it justice till you see these products live and in color and the new, tons of research around color. If you don't know, #1 branded vaporizer in the world when it comes to cannabis, sleek and discreet, simple and easy to use. We've added new lip sensing technology that heats it up and cools it down as you use it. So just little things that just, 22 seconds. So even though I said to you early, hey, I go in my backyard and you can hit my vape and my Era so easily, I do it just as easily when it comes to my, PAX 3. And you can see, if you ever ran into Jenna or Ruben out in retail and get it, you can see I don't just say Force for Good. We that and put your nickname on it and do whatever, and hopefully you can get into one of our engraver events. Adolfo's point, we've got a massive range. I tend to use, I don't know if it's just weird, it's the only thing in my life I use in Fahrenheit, but our range is about 340 to 420 and well beyond. But there's these new dynamic modes that I'm just exploring myself too. We call them standard, boost, efficiency, stealth, flavor. And I won't go waste our time today, but if you go in each of these modes now that you can click into, it provides a whole different kind of unique structure of an experience. So love it. And then, the difference, people, hey, what's this? Why does this other one cost more? I'll keep it really simple. If you are contemplating, concentrates in any way, you can get a concentrate insert, a half pack oven, multi-tool screen, 3 screens, and a pouch, basically for 50% of what you go and buy it out by itself. So, I would just suggest if you're ever thinking about the first part, go at it. Accessories, and these are some of the things in here. Probably don't even know, probably never seen our concentrate insert. Easiest tiny little thing. You just take the top off, put it in there. And there we go. Where am I at? And you're good to go on that.
I'm sure people are salivating right now, man. It's like it is time for the giveaway. So everything that you're talking about is people are like, oh. Sorry to cut you off there, Tim. We're just going way over.
Oh yeah, we're done. We're good.
Awesome, brother. Thank you, man. Again, to the both of you. So many exciting things happening. And Tim, that new add-on to your technology, man, like I said before, just from everyone from the cannabis sommelier scene, thank you so much. Thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you for letting us tell our story.
To you and everyone at PAX. Genius Pipe, we're going to be doing some online announcements coming up that will be exciting. So it's a great opportunity for my students to get to know your product, not just through you, but through the product directly. Sharon is like our guardian angel. She's always out there. She's taking care of us. She makes sure that this works and that everything works, frankly, in this company. Sharon, who has won today's giveaway? Who is it? Drum roll. Yes, there's a drum roll occurring right now in my head. Now, remember that you have to answer. If they mention your name and you're not here anymore, they're going to go to somebody else. Michelle with 1 L. Is Michelle here? Oh, Michelle. Oh, Michelle with 2 L's is here. She's here. She's here. Michelle, you just won yourself a PAX vaporizer and a Genius Pipe. Congratulations. Congratulations. We will ensure that both PAX and Genius reaches out with those products to you. We will collect your address from you. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming today. Next episode is going to be, I'm going to have to share this slide with y'all because this is too exciting.
Google Chrome.
I really recommend Tim and Dean that you also join us for this because I'm telling you, you want to be here for this episode.
Absolutely.
Episode 4 is the CBD saga, an interview with Ryan Lee, one of the forefathers of the CBD movement. We're so lucky to have Ryan come down and give us an hour of his time to tell us how CBD genetics were primarily a Canadian-led movement that spread to Europe, and from Europe spread to the rest of the world. Not Europeans coming up with everything solo. Ideas are never like that. There's always masters that train the best people in the world. CBD crew got trained by Ryan Lee, okay? Come and check out his story. How did he change the world with his genetics? We love this man. Thank you again, Tim, Ryan, Darryl. Thank you. Wait. Darryl, Tim, sorry, brain fart. I love you all. Thank you all for coming. Everyone who attended, we'll see you again next month, okay? Thank you so much. Oh yeah, by the way, remember, if you want to attend one of our courses, follow us on Instagram or any of that. Let me see, hopefully, oh no, it's working. It's working. Yes, it works. Remember, we're offering these amazing courses for you. Please join us. We still have the discounted rate happening right now, only until the end of the month. I'm trying to make that discount appear on the screen for you right now. It's not happening for me. I apologize for that, but we will send you your discount code to your email, and we're also going to send you the PDF from these presentations to your email. Thank you so much for coming. Hasta luego, everyone.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay.